What do I think the best way to practice is? Scale songs, etc. Number 10. It, I think it's kind of a good balance. I mean, a lot of really good teachers talk about, setting aside half an hour to an hour a day and running through, 5 minutes of scales. Play this for 10 minutes, do this, and have a regimen. Um, so I'd say probably a blend and having an actual practice routine together. I mean, even right now, I mean, I'm lately I've been focusing on the drums a lot more, and I've really since playing guitar for so many years and bass, I definitely know the wrong ways to practice. There was times when I really wasn't getting bad, and now like I mean like with any instrument, I sit down with drums and I do 15 minutes of just hand work, which is probably the equivalent of scales, and then I'll play songs for 10 minutes, and then I'll play something that I really don't know how to play. I mean, they definitely if you're practicing and you feel like you're on top of your game, you're not practicing right. Like you need to practice things that make you feel stupid and make you feel like you don't know what you're doing. And then when you go to actually play with other people and you go to perform, that stuff will seem really easy because the stuff you're trying to, you're always got to be climbing up that mountain. And if you kind of plateau for a little while, that's not good. You just want to keep pushing yourself, but definitely blend everything together to practice. I would say. 11. Do you play any instrument besides the guitar? I do. Competently, I play bass and drums. Drums are probably my main thing. Bass, I'm probably honestly better at than guitar. That was really my main instrument for a long time, even though guitar was kind of my first thing. But yeah, I mean, I can screw around with some other stuff, but those are the three that I kind of, can go out in a band with and not look too dumb with. So, what is the most difficult style genre of music to learn? Uh, I don't know. I guess a lot of these questions they're a little subjective, and it's hard for me to want to say this. But I think the one thing when you start learning a lot of genres, I've spent a lot of time where I play. I mean, just in the last 5 years, I've been in a blues band, multiple blues bands, playing guitar and bass. I play drums in country bands. I play drums in like pop rock bands. I play drums in punk bands. And I think the one thing that you really learn the more you play, and as you play a lot of styles, is that they're all alike. I mean, the people that listen to it don't think so, but I think when you're really performing it, you start to kind of see through the matrix, to use a dated movie reference, but you kind of start seeing how it's all alike and it all works together really easily. Um, like I mean, a punk beat is just a polka beat, and I a lot of my punk drumming skills come in a lot more handy in country drumming than you'd think. But any of that stuff, I mean, a lot of it's still the same harmony in guitar. It's still the same kind of scales. I mean, those pentatonic. I mean, almost all rock, metal, everything, comes right back to blues stuff. So, I mean, it's hard to say what is the hardest. I mean, some of that freeform jazz stuff, crazy hard. Takes a lot of, that stuff. If you can play that, you can play anything. But, like a lot of the metal and stuff, a lot of that stuff just sped up. So, I mean, is it fast? Is it seeing complicated harmonies? But, I think you really learn that a lot of the stuff at its base is all the same. And when you kind of start seeing that, I think is when a lot of people kind of upgrade as a musician and they start being able to really be more of a musician and less of a guitar player or this or that. You start seeing kind of the building blocks and are able to put them together. Are there any other muting techniques besides palm muting? Question number 13. Yeah, I mean, you got your left hand muting technique, which I'd say is way more important than palm muting, because palm muting is just kind of the chugga 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 thing. Um, left hand muting is like you're only playing the notes you want to play. So if you want to hit like a D on the A string, you don't hit a D and a tiny bit of the G, and like, you just hear wah. You don't hear wah. I mean, hitting a note isn't just choosing a starting time; it's choosing a length, and it's choosing the way it decays, and it's kind of using both hands. I mean, muting technique isn't just one hand. I mean, it's really just kind of controlling the notes and muting. I mean, they used to say, it's not just one note; it's the space, and I would say that that's true. And muting does that. But palm muting is kind of like you're chugga chugga chugga, and you focus on the percussion and the attack and kind of mix it. And I go but. Yeah, I mean, I really think like left and right hand, muting when you're doing that is probably the main muting technique and much more important. Number 14, is there anything you can suggest to strengthen my fingers besides practicing? Practicing. Uh, they make like the DeAndrea. They bought out the company that used to make that thing, and there's other companies like GHS makes this ball, and you can do it. I don't know. After years of doing all this stuff, I can definitely like rock climb really well and do things like that. But nothing beats just practicing. I mean, even just like sitting there in front of the TV with the guitar unplugged and just running your fingers and doing little string, finger exercises and stuff is honestly the best way to do it. I mean, people walk around with these finger exercises and stuff, but they're it's not like you can see them like drastically improve every day. So I don't know. I mean, yeah, there's little things you can do. Definitely nothing hurts. I mean, you don't, as long as you're not hurting the muscles in your hand by kind of overextending them or something. I mean, but, you know, I would definitely say like practicing is going to be the big one though. Anything else is sort of gimmicky and works for certain people and not for others, but, nothing is ever going to replace practicing. So, number 15, what brand of guitar, if any, do you prefer? Best guitar in the world is the one that fits you. I think people brand themselves way too much. I mean, you could take a guitar and someone would love it until you sanded the headstock off and then they wouldn't judge it the same anymore. I mean, I've definitely, after years and years of doing this, can tell that a lot of people shop with their eyes and not with their hands. But I'm really big into Reverend. I do it in my store. The guys are really nice. They're out of Detroit, and they probably make, I feel, the most solid guitar in the market, and it's, most of them are under $1,000. So, and I think it kicks the crap out of like $2,500 guitars. And a lot of those companies that do the big ad campaigns, you pay for a lot of that stuff and you do it. I mean, when you watch Rock of Love and there's, a house full of Les Pauls, I mean, they didn't just end up there. I mean, that stuff is purchased. And when you buy those kind of guitars, I mean, you're paying to kind of keep that corporate machine kind of shoving stuff down your throat, and it definitely, I think, has hurt music in the last 20 years. I mean, there's a lot of endorsers are a big part of it, and sadly, I mean, I think it keeps a lot of kids from really having guitars they like because they buy the lowest end stuff of some major advertising juggernaut and never really end up with good instruments because they think they have to spend $2,500 to get a guitar that their friends will think are cool and it'll kind of sucks.